Hello, Steve White, Trek Boy 89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, Star Trek Discovery Season 5, Episode 1 complicated things a bit more. Now, I've only seen that first episode and the trailers for Episode 2 and 3 and the whole season. And we see a few things. Now, in the actual first episode, they actually use footage from the Next Generation episode, The Chase, which they can't do because it's a different universe. And even if they don't acknowledge it's a different universe because the IP and copyright issues no longer exist because the companies are joined and they can't sue each other anymore, they still establish that they've created an alternate timeline which they use to sort of justify all the changes in the universe. But they still have to stick to that. You can't show images from Next Generation and act like that exists in this universe when they've clearly shown through Picard that everything has changed and everything is different. And things happen differently from the canon that was already established in the Next Generation. Although changing the JJ, oh God, I can't even get into that mess. With the original idea of using the original canon, then not being able to use it, getting the creating the new universe, the JJ universe. Can't call it the Kelvin universe because the Kelvin really only explains the actual timeline. It's really only responsible for that. It's just a mess. So having that footage doesn't work. Now, having Spock from Unification, they could kind of get away with because they had the same actor playing both Spocks from both universes. So in theory, he could look the same in that era. It's a very subtle sort of, image. We know what it's from, but he could have appeared like that at any time, and so it's not much of an issue. But having things like the Strange New Worlds Enterprise with the original series Enterprise D in the same in holograms in the same shot in a Starfleet lobby, that doesn't work. You just can't do it. You can't establish we've got a different timeline to explain all these differences in the universe we created because we didn't have the copyright and IP to use the original without paying for it and then losing half the merchandise rights or whatever. You can't create that new timeline to justify that new universe and then not stick to it and be like, oh no. It's just these people are so stupid, and it's so frustrating that they think we're that stupid that we're not going to notice because they know some people, some hamburgers aren't going to care and they're just going to love it anyway because I don't know what's wrong with them. There's something wrong with them. They lack intelligence or integrity or something. I don't know what it is that you can stomach something like that and not feel condescended to and insulted, like real Star Trek fans and intelligent science fiction fans and intelligent people in general do. Which takes the fun out of the show because they used to respect us and maintain things like that for that reason. So yeah, I actually thought that they were going to go back in time to the Strange New Worlds era. I didn't realise they were pulling the ISS Enterprise out of the Mirror Universe somehow, which is apparently what they're doing. I thought for a minute maybe they were pulling the Defiant and they were going to then recon the Defiant story and not have the Defiant from Enterprise. Because there's no excuse to not use that. They can say, oh, the original Enterprise wasn't good enough, but they used it in Enterprise. So it still doesn't make any sense. That's still it just doesn't make any sense. There's no way to make this, the canon and the visual consistency be consistent. Because even if you acknowledge that it was just a visual reboot, that's still not being consistent with that by using footage from shows they've already established. That universe doesn't look like that. It's like it just doesn't work. It's like trying to go back and watching episodes of Next Generation or Star Trek or any of those old original canon shows once you've sort of seen the new show and once you are a fan of New Trek. If you're a New Trek fan and you consider that to be Star Trek, how can you go back and look at the other inconsistent Star Treks? It's like, how can they show that in New Trek and have even the New Trek fans not see that's not what the uniforms look like, that's not what this looked like, not what the ship looked like, blah, blah, blah. It's just a mess at this point. And it comes from just not caring, messing things up, trying to fix it, but not fixing it properly, and just condescending to the audience, just being like, they won't notice. And this has happened in TV before. We've seen this happen before. Look at Space 999. They changed everything between Season 1 and Season 2, and when the people behind the scenes said, we have to explain this within the story, within the canon, within the context, within the universe. Literally, Freeburger just said, they won't notice. Doesn't matter. That's basically what they do in Discovery. It's just... I meant to mention this in my review, but it would have made the review 15 minutes long. So I'm glad I didn't do it, and I'm doing it as a separate video. But yeah, and I hope that's all they do it in, just that the shot of the progenitor, and the shot of Picard, and the shot of the Romulans. Hopefully that's all they do it in, and the rest stays in their own canon, so we don't have to try and... Because I can watch the new show and accept that it is a different universe, and sort of forget there's a different new timeline, forget there's a different universe as well, because the timeline would, justify all the changes anyway. But if they're going to try and go backwards and forwards and still try and say, even with the timeline differences and the IP universe differences, it's still the same universe, it's just exhausting, tiresome, and just ruins any form of the show working.